Right.
Good evening. We're going to begin the council meeting for March 8th, 2021. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Thomas, roll call, please.
Certainly, Mr. President. Mr. Delaney?
Here.
Mr. Dern?
Present.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Hadley?
Here.
Mr. Odom?
Present.
Mr. Pastor is absent this evening. Mr. Vento?
Here.
Mayor Schlegel?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of February.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Doyle.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the expenses for the month of February.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Doyle.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Hadley. Mr. Thomas, if you would, please.
Certainly. Expenses from the general fund for the month of February. Payables requiring council approval. $426,382.13. Street Improvement Fund payables requiring council approval, $1,469.55. Fire Fund payables requiring council approval, $25,621.02. Capital Improvement Fund payables requiring council approval, $25,797.60. Flood Mitigation Fund payables requiring council approval, $8,614.14. Emergency Medical Services Fund, payables requiring council approval, $2,071.48. 2019 Bond Fund, payables requiring council approval, $438,636.34. And I would also like to request that council approve the expense also out of the 2019 Bond Fund for the East Oakmont Stormwater Project to Liberoni Incorporated for $131,856.46. And then finally, purchasing card direct vendor payments, Republic Services, $168,108.20, and miscellaneous borough purchases of $3,784.82.
Having received a motion and a second, would you vote to approve the expenses for the month of February? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the February 8th council meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Dern, second by Mr. Doyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of achievements in the community. Mayor Schlegel.
I have none right now, other than that we have the borough staff has put up on the borough website a form which can be filled out online and then is immediately emailed to me. If there is anything in the community, if anyone knows, if they're celebrating a 25th, a 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary, a 100th birthday, any milestones, please go to the website, fill out the form, and it comes immediately to me, and I will be more than happy to recognize those. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Civic announcements.
Good evening. Excuse me. Jim Sims, Chief of Holiday Park Fire Department. Haven't been here for a while, and stop back and just kind of bring us up to date what's going on at my station. First and foremost, it's fish fry season, as Mr. Dern talked about last council meeting. My department, along with Logan's Ferry and Renton, we're having a fish fry through Lent. It's been very successful. We apologize for the delay, but at 4:30 when our doors open up and it's lying down across the front of our building, we get fish out as quick as we can. It's been successful, and we appreciate everybody's patience with us, and we appreciate everybody's coming by to support the fire department. Lunch is 11:30 to 1:30, dinner's 4:30 to 7:30, and on Good Friday, we're open all day. Lunch right through closing, which is usually 11 to 8 p.m. We do take credit cards, so you can call on the phone, place an order, and along those lines, we deliver also. So we'll deliver to your home. If you want to do touchless, so you don't have to tell us to ring your doorbell and leave it by your front door. If you're afraid to come in contact with somebody, we'll be glad to do that. But Fish Fry is in full swing, not only for us, but also for the Renton and the Logan's Ferry Fire Department. Coming up March 14th is Change Your Clocks, which also means change your smoke detector batteries. We emphasize this every year. Smoke detectors do save lives. Make sure you change your batteries and your carbon monoxide detectors. And actually, First Alert, we don't support any particular product, but First Alert has come out with a 10-year combination smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector. Has a 10-year built-in battery. You can get them, you can install them in your home. You don't have to worry about, did I change my battery? You don't have to worry about whether or not your smoke detector, your carbon monoxide detector is going to work. So that's available at any of the local Home Depots, Lowe's, Stanford's, or whatever. Something new this year at my department. Part of my line staff, I've added a community resource officer. We get a lot of requests. We really do. If you look at our Facebook page or our social media page, we always have something going on. And now that, I'm not saying COVID's over, because obviously we run first responder calls and we assist Plum EMS. We see COVID every single day on medical calls. We see it every day. But there's some sense of normalcy. We're getting calls now for tours to our fire station. Our fire station is opened up for tours. We are getting calls to do first aid and CPR classes. We're getting tours to come visit the Boy Scouts. We really get inundated with a lot of calls. Alex, who's with me, Alex in the back, is my community resource officer. He also does all our social media. And we're very fortunate to have him within our department. A lot of people don't know this about Alex. He's from the television industry. He actually holds 2 local Emmys for digital production. So when you look at we have an advantage when you look at our Facebook page and our social media pages. That's why they're a little bit different from some of the other people within the organizations. So we're pleased to have him. But he's in charge. So if anybody out there needs us, they want us to come by, we have a whole group of speakers. We can speak to a group of senior citizens, church groups, whatever. And you can contact our station and ask to speak with Alex. If you have not been to our station, if there's anything good that's come out of the COVID pandemic, we've actually had the opportunity with our downtime, with no bingo, no hall rentals, we've almost completion with the renovation of our social hall. Those who have been there in the past, that used to see paneling and carpeting on the walls, it's gone. It is absolutely gone. The new hall is gorgeous. Once we get through Fish Fry, we plan to have an open house for those who want to come down and see it, and possibly talking about bookings. But once again, this is all dependent upon when we can open up. Our occupancy is 200, so 30% is only, what's 15% actually, 15%. We're allowed 30 people. Can't have a first birthday party with 30 people. It doesn't work real well. My organization is also part of the National Volunteer Fire Council, and the NVFC has started a program called Make Me a Fireman, which we are getting involved with. I'm going to speak to the other chiefs at our chiefs meeting this month, and I've already spoke to Vince, and we want to produce with Alex's help, produce a video to put on Channel 19, to do it on the Spotlight. We really have to get people in our organization, just like any other organization, whether it's softball or soccer or whatever, but we need people, whether you come down and fry fish, whether you come down and work bingo, whether you come down and be a treasurer. You don't have to get on the truck just to belong to a volunteer fire department. We have a lot of jobs that need to be done. And the volunteer firefighters' ranks, they're dropping. They're dropping throughout the entire state of Pennsylvania. I gave this statistic once before. Back in the 70s, there was over 300,000 volunteer firemen in the state of Pennsylvania. The last census by the Pennsylvania Fire and Safety Institute, we're down to about 38,000 volunteer firemen in the entire state of Pennsylvania. It's expensive to put a paid department in place. We need help, and we need staffing. And finally, I'm pleased to announce our junior fire camp's back this year. Our junior fire camp, we ran it for 2 years in a row. The first year we had 12. The second year we had 24. Last year we announced it, and by the first 3 weeks we were filled at 24 for the program. And of course, COVID came, and so junior fire camp went away. But we feel comfortable, we know enough now, and since most of it's outside, we can social distance, we can wear masks, we can be safe, and we can safely conduct junior fire camp this year. And what junior fire camp, what it is, it's for youths 14 to 17 to come experience what it's like to be a firefighter. It's Monday through Friday. We start at 8:30 in the morning. We get done at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we teach them what it's like. We teach, and they get certificates for going there. We serve them lunch during the day. We take field trips like the 2019 class, and the last day we actually took them to the Pittsburgh Fire Academy for their final exams, and the school district helped us providing a bus to get them down there to do their exercises. They get a CPR card, they get a first aid card, they get the fire extinguisher training, and several stop the bleed certificate, life flight certificate, life flight comes out. It was a really successful program. And not only has it benefited our organization, but we get youths from all over the area that have come back and went and learned and become volunteers out in their neighboring communities. So it's been a real success for us, and it's been a success for other communities. So we're pleased to announce that we're bringing fire camp back for this year. It's $50, and that gives 5 days of training, your certificates, and lunch every day. I'll tell you a quick funny story. I had a father come like Wednesday or Thursday of back in 2019. He said, "I want to see the chief." And I said, "Oh, this can't be good, you know." And I said, "I'm the chief." He goes, "I want to know what you did to my son." I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about." He goes, "Came home for dinner last night. He got from dinner, left his cell phone on the dinner table, went to bed, and never got up till this morning. He never looked at his phone once. His phone sat on the dinner table all night long." He goes, "Thank you for thank you for making him work hard." So we have a lot of success stories, and we, as you know, the first 2 years we do it, we have graduation on Friday night at community days, and it's just a really good event. So I'll show you. I'll hand out this brochure. I won't get too close, and that's what I have on behalf of the Holly Park Fire Department tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thanks.
You guys know how much fish you cooked? Do you know how many fish you cooked on Friday? I'm a numbers guy. I like to hear.
Thank you.
A lot. We do, Alex, what, 12 cases, 10? Alex, yeah. What's our name? What many cases is 10 to 12? Fish. 15. 15.
Nice.
We went through 15 cases.
That's awesome.
That's just fish. That doesn't include the crab cakes, the haluski, the mac and cheese. But yeah, 15 cases
Fries.
of shrimp. Fries, yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
So it's like I said, it's a real undertaking for. And we're fortunate because we actually have people who've. This is great. If you're listening and you're watching, I want to say thank you. We've actually had citizens of our community talk about the citizens helping Harry. We've had people say, "Hey, listen, we see you guys overwhelmed. Can we come down and help you?" We had 3 people last Friday who have nothing to do with the fire department. They called and they've come down and they worked our fish fry just to help us out because they came down, they liked our fish, and they wanted to help us out because they saw how busy we were. So we have people who have actually come out and help us out. So it's good for us too. Thanks again.
Great news.
I just wanted to
Thanks,
let you know, and I'm glad you're here because I could tell you here. My family came down Friday
Okay.
and got fish and a couple other things, but mainly the fish sandwiches. It was a terrific dinner, and I appreciate it. And there was a little snafu with we ordered it, but my son picked it up. He didn't know how much there'd be. So long and short of it is, he didn't get the second bag. Now, either it wasn't there when he picked it up, but anyway, my wife and I ran back out, and they were nice enough to give me complete new things that were replaced.
Oh, good.
So the dinner was, other than making 2 trips, it was terrific. That's something that happens, and nobody's going to hold that against you that I know of.
Okay.
But thanks for making it good, and that made the fish all the better.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the comments.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, any other civic announcements? Mr. Sabosely, I think you had one, sir?
Sure. Mr. Sims is a tough act to follow up on there. And Jim, how much fish is in a case? I don't know. If you're putting numbers to that.
A lot.
It's a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Easily depends on the weight. The piece of big cod.
I'd accept a lot as a good answer. I mean,
40 pieces, 45 pieces.
wow. Excellent. Mr. President, thank you. Just wanted to announce that staff in the borough are once again sponsoring our cleanup days in April. This will be our 5th year doing the cleanup days. Last year would have been 5, but with the onset of COVID, that was postponed last year. So we get people together. We clean up the roadways here in Plum Boro. That'll be happening on Saturday, April the 24th. So we're looking, as we always do, for church groups, scouts, clubs, HOAs, any group to come out and help us. We have registration forms on our website for the volunteers. We also have the hard copies here if you want to come in to the borough office and pick those up. So we're looking for volunteers. But this year we're going to expand our cleanup day and see what we can do to help our seniors this year. We do have on the volunteer registration form a box where you can check to help a senior. And there's also forms for seniors to sign up if you need help. So the seniors that we're looking to help, are truly seniors that can't afford to have someone come out, someone that needs help with their yard, they can't physically get out. So we're asking for volunteers that would spend, 1 to 2 hours at a house, cutting grass, raking, pruning, trimming hedges. And I think that we are going to see a lot of people in Plum Boro, I'm confident, sign up to help our seniors. So we can have all the seniors in the world sign up, but without the volunteers, we can't provide that service. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to call the borough. We'd be happy to talk to you. We're going to try and match up people, that volunteer with seniors during that cleanup week, which would be April the 19th through the 24th. So you can volunteer and help a senior and come out on Saturday the 24th, help us with that. But we're excited to get back to it this year. Since we didn't have a cleanup last year, theoretically we have twice as much garbage out there. So we probably need twice as many volunteers to come out and help this year. But we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have some good weather. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Sabosli. And that event is always a fantastic event for residents to get involved and taking a firsthand opportunity to clean up the area that they live in. So I certainly encourage each and every one of you to participate, and it's great that we're extending it to our seniors because I know they definitely are probably going to need some assistance as well. So it's good to see that you've expanded the event to support them as well. Moving on to...
Mr. President, if I may, real
Yes, sir.
quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Mr. Sabosli, the volunteers, do they receive any sort of a T-shirt or anything, like so they look uniform?
Sure. So what we've done in the past is that Saturday morning we have the volunteers come up to Public Works. We have some light refreshments and T-shirts. So on the sign-up form, we ask for the names of the people volunteering and their shirt size. So
Okay. Who pays for that?
we have sponsors. We try and get as many sponsors as we can. So
All right. Well, the reason I bring this up is if you can let me know the amount for the T-shirts, then I will reach out to some of the vendors and raise that money
Sure.
for you, so you can use all the other money you have for other things.
we'll certainly do that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on to President's comments. So I did want to start by discussing the information from the last Stormwater Task Force meeting, which occurred on February 25th. We discussed the status of the proposed long-term solutions, specifically related to the O-Block Key West project. We received comments from the DEP and the Conservation District on the permit for that project. We also discussed the Center Beach project, which is also ready to be submitted, but is now pending completion of the land acquisition for the actual project. The DEP recommended that the borough submit the application once the land acquisition is completed. We spent the bulk of the meeting discussing stormwater retention pond ownership within the borough. This is a significant problem that we highlighted during our public meeting, and when we met in our first meeting this year from the task force, we identified it as one of our primary objectives that we needed to come through related to stormwater management in the borough. The borough staff provided a listing to task force members on all the retention ponds in Plum. The listing included various attributes of retention ponds to include location, parcel, construction date, date of inspection, and owner and responsible party. The task force provided recommendations to the borough staff on modifications to the listing, and then also started working on identifying those retention ponds which could potentially have ownership by the borough itself. There are approximately 67 retention ponds in the borough, with the borough currently having ownership or responsibility for 16 ponds. The Stormwater Task Force determined it was best to focus the review on the residential ponds, as those owned by commercial entities have historically maintained those ponds in accordance with established regulations. The task force reviewed the residential retention ponds and made a preliminary determination of those ponds that should be taken over by the borough. There were a total of 9 ponds identified that the task force recognized as potential candidates for borough ownership. The staff is going to be updating the listing and will work to obtain details on the potential rough order of magnitude related to the costs associated with the maintenance of those ponds, and then provide that information to the task force in the next meeting. So this is one of the, like I said, one of the primary objectives that we have this year on the task force to address this issue of retention pond ownership. We recognize that there are a number of advantages and disadvantages to the borough potentially taking ownership of some of these retention ponds, and we're discussing a number of those items within our task force meetings. And it will also be an item that we include on the agenda in our next public meeting, which we've tentatively scheduled for Saturday, April 24th. Other than that, there's the next task force meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 25th. And again, we'll be working on that retention pond ownership issue, as well as talking about planning for the next public meeting. The next item I want to discuss as part of my president's comments, I wanted to bring to your attention an item that I have growing concern over based on my occupation as a cybersecurity professional. Some of you may be aware of the recent cyber attack that occurred in February on a water treatment facility in Florida, where malicious cyber criminals gained access to the industrial control systems and changed the chemical levels, making the water unsafe to consume. Now, while the attempt to poison the water supply was prevented, it has raised a number of concerns regarding how vulnerable the nation's water systems may be to attacks by a sophisticated cyber actor. If any of you have paid attention to the news of the last year, it's clear to see that our country continues to live under the constant threat of widespread, indiscriminate cyber attacks, which increase each year in frequency, scope, sophistication, and severity of impact. The Department of Homeland Security has indicated that today's cyber attacks, and I quote, are increasingly dangerous and targeted, designed by advanced actors to damage or disrupt critical U.S. infrastructure. Cyber threat actors can inflict damage on the critical infrastructure by infiltrating the digital systems that control specialized equipment designed to deliver services to our communities, like electric power and water. As a nation-state cyber attack on U.S. infrastructure places private companies on the front line, this presents a national security challenge unlike any other, and it's imperative that government and the private sector take an active role in defending these systems. I believe it's imperative that we take proactive measures to address this issue and ensure the critical infrastructure that supports our community is maintained in a manner that effectively mitigates the cyber threats that we face both now and in the future to come. As such, we'll be engaging both the Plum Boro Municipal Authority to discuss this issue and determine the need to further engage the Municipal Authority of Westmoreland County to discuss what actions they are taking to mitigate the cyber threat facing our water treatment facility. My expectation is that we will, at a minimum, include a review of the basic cyber hygiene measures for protecting critical infrastructure systems as provided in a joint cybersecurity advisory that has been issued by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, I've already reached out to our water authority, spoken with Mr. Rumbaugh, and he has agreed to have some folks take a look at this, meet with me and other members of council as we see fit in order to determine what measures we may need to take proactively to ensure that our water treatment facility is safe from these particular types of attacks. So we're working on this proactively, and we hope to come through some sort of a resolution in the near future. But I wanted to bring that to your attention just so you understand that we see these things, and when we do, we're looking to take some proactive measures to address them. And that will conclude my president's comments. At this time, we'll move on to citizen comments on agenda items.
We have no one signed up this evening, Mr. President.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to council actions. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Vento.
Thanks, Mr. President. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to approve FSC-1-21, the Addison Horner lot line revision.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vento, second by Mr. Hadley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to approve SP-08-20, the Palumbo preliminary/final land development contingent upon the final review and approval of the borough engineer.
Motion by Mr. Vento,
Seconded.
second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to enact ordinance number 953-21, accepting the dedication of the retention ponds and easements at Chevelle Estates.
Motion by Mr. Vento,
Seconded.
second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the committee, I move to approve CU-01-21, a conditional use application for Bygone Wines at Unity Plaza.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Vento, second by Mr. Delaney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to adopt resolution number 899-21 for the Allegheny County Side Yard Program for 596 Carnival Drive.
Motion by Mr. Vento,
Second.
second by Mr. Hadley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, on behalf of the committee, I move to appoint the following individuals to the Agricultural Security Area Advisory Board: Robert Morrow, Philip Miller, Theodora Tompa, Carlos Escalante, and Dave Vento.
Motion by Mr. Vento,
Second.
second by Mr. Hadley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. On behalf of the Finance Committee, Mr. Doyle.
Action.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Odom.
Actually,
I
personnel.
apologize, Mr. Doyle. We have one additional item for the Personnel Management Committee, Mr. Hadley.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I motion to accept the resignation of Patrolman Eric Callan effective immediately. Or wait.
That needs to be made in the form of a motion to add it to the
Oh,
agenda
sorry.
and then the motion.
I motion to add to the agenda.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to add an item to the agenda. It's been properly seconded. We will open this for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on adding this item to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been added to the agenda. Proceed, sir.
And on behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I motion to restate the motion as previously read.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hadley,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that is all for,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
And now on behalf of the Finance Committee,
Thank you,
Mr. Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to table a $510,000 in new debt for the purchase of a fire truck for the Unity Fire Department.
We have a second?
Second.
Motion is tabled.
On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 899-21 to appoint borough bond underwriters and counsel for a new bond issue.
Motion by Mr. Doyle,
Seconded.
second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, on behalf of the Finance, I shouldn't say that. I have one other one beyond this, but I move to enact Ordinance 954-21 to authorize the refinancing of the 2016 general obligation bond issue.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mr. Vento. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And if you will, Mr. President, allow me to also add to the agenda the exoneration of penalty and interest of tax bills for a totaling of $600 from 2016 to 2018 based on an email received on 2/25/21 from a Plum Boro resident.
Motion to add an item to the agenda?
I'll second with one comment I'd like to make on that. Just so everybody knows that the taxes themselves were paid. This is we're just moving to waive the penalties on said taxes.
Thank you for that clarification, sir. Given that we're adding an item to the agenda, we will open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this agenda item that we're adding? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items added to the agenda. Proceed, sir.
On behalf of the committee, I move to exonerate the penalties and interest of a total of $600 from the years 2016 to 2018, based on the information received in an email on 2/25/21.
Motion by Mr. Doyle.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Dern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. On behalf of the Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, Mr. Pastor's not here. Filling in is Mr. Dern.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. I move to authorize a CoStar's proposal for data and audio cabling from Horizon Information Services Incorporated at the new Borough Building.
Motion by Mr. Dern.
Second.
Second by Mr. Doyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to authorize a CoStar's proposal for network infrastructure and installation from All Lines Technology at the new Borough Building.
Motion by Mr. Dern.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hadley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, I move to approve the disposition of old borough vehicles as presented on the 2021 asset sales list.
Motion by Mr. Dern.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vento. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. And that concludes council actions for this evening. Moving on with our agenda, the mayor's report. Mayor Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. President. As far as calls go, the Uniform Patrol Division responded to 842 calls last month. That's an increase of 31% over the previous month. The chief also received a thank you letter from Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, who is physically disabled, car slid off the road on New Texas Road, and it was in a very precarious position. He wanted to thank officers or sergeants Di Maria, Dubinsky, and Abraham, as well as Officer DeMarco, who assisted in getting him out of the car because he was physically unable. They had to get the car stabilized and off and then get him out. And just another one of the services that our police officers perform. And we are coming up to spring, and that means that our speed signs will be coming out and be put around. They blossom all over the place, the same as the tulips and the other annuals come out. So I'll be giving reports on that. To piggyback on what Mr. Sabosley was saying, I've been noticing, particularly on Rep Road, on this side of the borough, on Rep Road and on Ellicott. Every time I go home, I ride by and I see a new pile of junk dumped on the side of the road. I don't believe those people are from Plum. So I'm asking for the community's help. If you see someone dumping that, or you see a car leaving and notice a new pile of trash there, call me, please. Get the license number and call me, because we're not going to tolerate that. We keep our borough clean, we clean it up, we have the volunteers out there, and for people, and I'm going to say this, from outside of our community who are coming here and dumping their trash. That's not going to be tolerated. And finally, thoughtful citizens. On February 15, Michael Cerniglia of Michael's Painting delivered pastries from Oakmont Bakery. And if you listen to me complain since November that our officers are getting larger, and I have not been invited to participate in any of these things.
Yet you keep getting larger.
You know,
He'll forget about it by the end of his report.
I was going to say that on Mr. Mark Reed, he has for the last 5-6 months, has been bringing in a half a sheet cake to celebrate any officers' birthdays during that month. And finally, I got a call. And yes, I had a piece of cake.
Good for you. You deserve it.
So again, a thank you to Mr. Siglia and Mark Reed. Mark has done this for several months. I happened to be there and I asked him why he does it, and he just wants to recognize and thank our officers for the job they do. I don't know what other communities are like. I know what this community is like, and there's a lot of great people out there. And that's all I have at this point.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Moving on to committee reports. The Intergovernmental Cooperative Committee with the Plum School District. I didn't receive any notifications from members of the school board to meet, so we have nothing to report for that committee. Next would be Mr. Doyle with the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. For March 8th, 2021, prior to the end of March, it is expected that Meyer Drusel, our independent auditor, will be forwarding a draft of the 2020 DCED report and legal ad. The finance director will review the report and ad for correctness and forward any recommended revisions to the auditor. Fiscal year 2021, the borough has a tax anticipation note with Standard Bank totaling $1.5 million. To date, we have yet to draw on this note, and this will lead to savings in interest expenses for the 2021 budget year. The borough will be estimating additional Pliget investment accounts to take advantage of our higher interest earnings. It is their Pliget Prime account, and under Act 10, municipal governments were provided with new investment options. For the month of February, general fund revenues totaled $941,847, and expenditures were $969,418. A few noteworthy revenues for the month of February: earned income tax, $422,886, local services tax, $53,291, cable TV franchise fees, $151,095. Sanitation current is $190,743. Some of the larger expenses for the period: police salaries, $168,236. Public works salaries, $68,617, and contracted collection services, $168,108. That is the end of my report.
Thank you, sir. Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, Mr. Pastor, for Mr. Dern, for Mr. Pastor.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Excuse me. The East Oakmont Stormwater project is ongoing. Unfortunately, the weather this past month has not worked well for construction, but they're hoping to wrap it up by the end of this month, other than some restoration work. We have reviewed the plans for the Holiday Park Phase 2 stormwater, as well as the Center New Texas Road culvert repairs. They should be going out for bid by the end of this month. The 2021 paving project bid has been awarded to Felino Construction. The paving work will not begin until late summer, early fall, due to the stormwater work being completed on the projects. We have done extensive camera work and pipe jetting in Unity to locate stormwater piping. We do not have any records to show mapping of these pipes in this area. This will now be loaded into our GIS system. We have met with HRG Engineering about the MS4 program. We will be doing inlet inspections as well as pond inspections. This will include pond inspections on private property as well as our own. Any violation will need to be repaired. We have been doing some road berming on secondary roads to get water to drain in a stormwater system in place on these roads. Winter road maintenance resulted in a total of 477 3/4 hours of overtime this month for both shifts. We have used approximately 2,000 tons of salt this winter season. We trimmed trees overhanging the cartway to reduce damage to plow trucks. We will begin patching potholes with cold patch materials. We repaired numerous mailboxes due to damage from the heavy snow coming off of all the plows. Materials ordered for the upcoming construction season have started to arrive. We will be ready once the weather breaks to move forward. And we've installed new street signs that were necessary due to poor reflectivity or damage, and we removed unnecessary signs. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. Moving on to public safety, again, Mr. Dern.
Thank you. And I'm glad to see Brian here tonight because I do not have my phone with your report on it, so the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Dern.
Thank you.
And by the way, that mask's freaking me out. Some of those people masks, man, I'm just like trying to look. So, but no, I appreciate it. Brian Maloney, Plum EMS, Director of Operations there. I appreciate, as always, the opportunity to come talk. For the month of February, we ended up doing 221 calls, and that's about equivalent to what we did the previous month. We ended up transporting 120 patients. We ended up responding to neighboring communities 24 times. 16 of those resulted in transport to the hospital. And for the need of mutual aid to come into Plum, that happened about 8 times, which represents about 4.2% of the time EMS was needed for the community that we had that happen. Throughout the month, we also wrapped up doing a training for the Plum Police Department. We did CPR, AED, first aid, and also stop the bleed. We did several classes to kind of keep it small. That way we can maintain distance and safety. The event turned out really well, so I enjoyed that. We also did a number of classes with the Unity Volunteer Fire Department, working the same thing with the CPR, AED, going over the trucks and the frequently used equipment, because this is like Holiday Park and Renton, who does first responding with us, so they work with us a lot of times. We had one meal donated to us this past month, nothing like the police, but the Plum Creek Church ended up to do a real nice lunch for us. I did get to participate in that one, so I appreciated it, but that generosity does go a long way. The crews appreciate that, so thank you to them. And also, on March 16th of this year, we're actually celebrating a milestone. 30 years Plum EMS has been doing EMS for the community. That happened back March 16th, 1991. They started staffing the first truck for Plum EMS. Since then, there has not been one shift, this is 24/7, 365, that we weren't able to provide that EMS coverage for the community. And so it was actually real nice. We had a nice article written about us by Mike, and we had 4 of our board members who were actually there 30 years ago do that. And it's quite an accomplishment as well. I know Jim Sims talked about the number of volunteer firefighters going down. EMS agencies are the same way. Several closed throughout the year, locally as well. It's just it's facing challenging times. A lot of times there's lack of support, and it just can't happen. And so we're very proud to say that we've accomplished this. Thanks to all of you for your support in the community. I know the subscriptions have gone out. We're already getting a lot of checks in to provide that support, and we thank you for all of that. And we wouldn't be able to do it without all of you. So thank you very much. Any questions, comments, great, concern, complaints? Perfect. Thank you. Careful with that mask.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. Planning and Economic Development, Mr. Vento.
Thanks, Mr. President. The Planning and Economic Development report is as follows. There are 53 permits issued and a total of $15,813 from those permits. The Planning Commission held a meeting on February 22nd. The following cases were discussed. The Palumbo Building request for preliminary final land development, which you heard approved tonight, was large part of the discussion, as was the Bygone Wines application and review that you also heard tonight. And they also talked a lot about the agricultural security area, which, as everybody doesn't know, that's a new area in Plum Boro that's dedicated to the preservation of farmland in the community. So that's something that I'm going to be part of, and I'm glad to say that we have good community support from the people that are going to be on the board. And we had our first meeting, and it was, informal, but it was very, very rewarding meeting the people that are there. Their wealth of the borough farming areas, people, that is great, and we feel there will be more people that want to be included in this. They've already talked to a bunch of their neighbors that didn't have any idea about this, so I look forward to that being an ongoing thing that expands for the community. And, you know, because I'm an economic development person, I like to see this because I think this is great for the community it's history. You know, one of the reasons we're all here in Plum today is because of the farming community, as well as the coal mining community. So it's just something I'll be keeping you up on all the meetings we have. It's not going to be a meeting-heavy board, I don't think, unless there's issues come up that we need to talk about. But it is something that's going to be well-received with the farming community. So that being said, we'll move on to the zoning hearing board. They did meet this February 17th, but what they talked about was, it was actually ended up being denied, so I don't think there's any desire on my part or yours to listen to somebody that was denied for something. It's just a variance. And they had various meetings and conference calls during the month, and they met with a developer of the Chevelle Estates to review issues related to the dedication of the infrastructure, which you heard approved tonight, the addition of a couple stormwater ponds to finish that little plan out. So many, many issues that come up with the GIS. That's the computer system that keeps track of everything we have in our community as far as water lines, sewer lines, gas lines, so that if they're needed, they're it's a great resource for our borough workers and also anybody else that might need to see. And they're working on, I see this on here now, the continued work on the easement layer, which is good if you're going to buy a home or a property in Plum. You can see what easements go through the possible property you want to purchase. Many code enforcement issues over the month. The 15, like I said, building permits and 2 zoning certificates, 57 occupancy inspections, addressed 16 complaints concerning garbage, junk, and debris, failure to obtain occupancy permits and vacant structures. During the month of February, the borough's contractor started and finished the demolition of 3 single-family homes. One was on Sardis Road, one was on Crystal Drive, and one was on Crestview Drive. And that's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Finally, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. President. For Parks and Recreation, Plum Creek Park miter fence repairs were made throughout the complex. Then you might notice the dugouts and backstops on fields 7 and 8 were torn down. With the weather the way it's been, with the snowiest winter in a while, construction has not started as speedily as we wanted. At Logan's Ferry Park, the construction has yet to start. We're waiting for the site work to start before the playground contractor can come in and start their work. Again, this is weather permitting. And the same thing for Renton Field. We'll start working on the ball field during the month of March, permitting on the weather. The good news is that Renton Park construction has progressed at the new playground. The new play structure is in, the parking area has been laid out, and the under drain work has started. As progress continues, we'll continue to keep the public up to date. We want to note that reservations are now being taken for Larry Mills and Plum Creek Park Pavilions and Renton Ballfield. Please visit our website for instructions on how to reserve a pavilion. And then the big thing in terms of borough HAPs, with the loosening of some of the COVID restrictions and the weather getting warmer, we're able to start pulling off some different events. We have some big ones coming up. The first one is Saturday, April 3rd. We have our second drive-through egg extravaganza at the Public Works facility. It's for borough residents only. We anticipate registering about 750 children. This is more than we did last year. Each child will receive a bunny bag containing a dozen plastic eggs. As of right now, we've stuffed about 10,000 eggs with candy and novelty items at no cost to the borough. This was accomplished by the following local business sponsorships: Plum Rotary, Plum Chamber of Commerce, State Farm Insurance Springer Agency, Western Southern Life, Nesbitt's Lanes, S&T Bank, the Plum Community Center, and Airy Bynes Boarding Kennel. The Easter Bunny will be on hand waving to visitors. We will also be using this opportunity to meet state requirements for MS4 outreach. We will have a fish handing out informational pieces of stormwater along with some Swedish fish. Also, don't forget that the Plum Rotary will be at this event collecting new socks for their current project, Socks with a Mission. This is a project where we're collecting new socks for the homeless people. It runs through April 5th. The second event that I know we're going to be looking forward to is in April 17th. That's the Kid Trout Fishing Event. We'll be ordering a variety of trout to stock Plum Creek. And then the big one that Dave Sabosley spoke of earlier in the meeting is our cleanup day, which is actually turned into cleanup week. We're going to be registering volunteers to help clean up a senior citizen's residence. Those who volunteer will be assigned to a home for a one-time cleaning of raking, grass cutting, and trimming. Applications for assistance will be screened by the borough and chosen on a base of number of volunteers, requests, and needs. That'll be 19th through the 24th. So leading up to the 24th will be our roadside cleanup day. And we also need volunteers. I can't stress enough the need for volunteers to make this event a success. Please go to our website and find all the information in the application. I also want to note that our In Plum magazine came out to residents. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I looked through it, and towards the end of the magazine, it has a lot of really information about what the borough's been up to, what our tax money's been doing. I think our borough staff did an incredible job putting that all together, and I really suggest you guys check it out. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. And that concludes our committee reports. The Planning Commission will meet on March 15th, 2021. And now we come to citizen comments on non-agenda items.
We have one individual signed up. It's Mr. Ira Helfer.
Yes, sir. State your name and address.
Yeah, my name's Ira Helfer. I'm president of the Unity Volunteer Fire Department. And I apologize if I'm in the wrong section of the meeting on this. It's been a while since I've been to a meeting. So I just wanted to talk about the fire departments a little bit. I know Jim talked specifically about Holiday Park. I'm going to talk about all the fire departments. So first of all, I'd like to thank council for having us and taking into consideration our purchase of a new rescue truck that was on the agenda. We'll talk about that later. But I wanted to explain to council and the public how the fire departments in Plum Boro kind of work. We have 4 stations. There's Unity, which is County Station 233, Renton, Station 234, Logan's Ferry Heights, which is 235, and Holiday Park, which is 236. All 4 stations are staffed and run by volunteers that respond and work in conjunction with each other. There are no paid firemen in this borough. In the year 2020, the 4 stations responded to a combined total of over 2,000 calls. In the borough, we have 7 fire pumpers, 2 rescue pumpers, 1 dedicated rescue truck, 2 ladder trucks, 2 Komoda off-road vehicles, plus an array of utility and support vehicles. These are all funded by the money the borough gives us and through fundraisers through all the fire departments. We are grateful in Plum, all the fire departments, for the support that the borough gives us in the way of our monthly stipend and for the money that you guys pay for the percentage of fire trucks. We also ask the public for donations. What we get is not enough. I can't speak for all the fire departments financially, but at Unity, the borough donations account for about 20% of our budget, with public donations accounting for another 40%. That's leaving us 40% short. We only receive donations from about 25% of the residents and less than that for our businesses. That leaves us to come up with different ways to make up the other 40% of our budget. So we're asking the public, if you donated last year, we thank you very much. Our solicitation letters will be going out very soon. Whatever you can donate, we appreciate. We have a lot of money, truck payments and everything. So whatever everybody can donate, we appreciate. We would like our firemen to spend more time doing training than trying to raise money. So I thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments on non-agenda items? I know we only have 1 sign up. That doesn't prevent anyone from speaking if they'd like. Okay, the last item on our agenda is for the good of Plum. I did want to pass on that council is working on a method to broadcast the work sessions so that the community has the opportunity to tune into those online. There's some things that we need to do logistically to make that happen, but we're working with borough staff to potentially do a trial run potentially next month, Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
And then once we are in a position to purchase the appropriate equipment that we need, we envision that we'll be able to start making those work sessions available for folks to tune in online and on the TV channel. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dern, second by Mr. Doyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.